Majestic winged figures appear in myths from every corner of the world, a puzzle spanning continents and millennia. This video explores the profound mystery of why cultures separated by vast oceans, from ancient Assyria to the Pacific Islands, all created strikingly similar winged guardians. We will journey together to uncover their shared symbolism, from the Lamassu of Mesopotamia to the Garuda of Hindu lore, and delve into the fascinating theories that attempt to explain this incredible consistency. By the end, you will see these ancient stories in a completely new light, revealing a hidden thread that connects all of human civilization. How is it possible for the same archetype to emerge independently across the globe? And what does that tell us about ourselves? A colossal form stands at the threshold of a temple, its immense stone wings casting a long shadow. This is no ordinary creature. It often combines the head of a wise human, the powerful body of a bull or lion, and the majestic wings of an eagle, a hybrid being radiating both immense power and solemn duty. This is the core of the winged guardian archetype, a figure so consistent across time and space that it feels like a shared dream of humanity. Far more than mere decoration, these sentinels embody a universal idea, the concept of protection on a grand, almost cosmic scale. They represent authority not of a king, but of a higher order, and they serve as a living bridge between our world and the realms of the divine. Esteemed thinkers like Joseph Campbell identified this figure as a fundamental piece of what he called the monomyth, a story so deeply ingrained in our collective psyche that cultures everywhere tell a version of it. These guardians are perpetually stationed at the most critical junctures, protecting sacred spaces, priceless treasures, or forbidden knowledge. They are the ultimate gatekeepers, intermediaries who can offer favor or deliver stern judgment from powers beyond our understanding. The stunning consistency in their design and purpose, from their hybrid anatomy to their solemn function, points to something far deeper than cultural coincidence. It hints at a shared blueprint within the human mind. What universal human experiences could possibly have given birth to this singular image over and over again? Is it our innate fear of the unknown, leading us to create powerful protectors for life's most vulnerable transitions? Or is it our enduring aspiration to connect with something greater than ourselves, personifying that connection as a being both majestic and approachable? Unraveling this mystery requires a journey to the very places where these stone and story sentinels first took flight. Standing before the gates of ancient Nineveh, a visitor would have felt an overwhelming sense of awe and intimidation. Carved from single, massive blocks of alabaster or limestone, the Lamassu were architectural titans, with the body of a powerful bull, the expansive wings of an eagle, and the bearded, crowned head of a human king. They were a breathtaking fusion of earthly and divine attributes. Their purpose was unequivocal. They were not decorative statues but active, spiritual sentinels, believed to possess apotropaic powers, a term meaning they could actively ward off malevolent spirits and hostile forces. Their very presence at the thresholds of cities and palaces created a protective barrier, shielding the sacred interior from the chaos of the outside world. Royal inscriptions make this duty explicit, invoking the guardians by name to secure the king's divine mandate and ensure the empire's enduring stability. One of their most ingenious features was the clever sculpting of 5 legs. From the front, the creature appears firmly planted, an immovable object. From the side, it is caught in mid-stride, a being in perpetual motion. This brilliant artistic solution symbolized their constant, all-seeing vigilance, a reminder that their protective gaze was inescapable from every angle. The sheer scale and durability of these figures, many of which have survived for millennia, offer tangible proof of their foundational role in one of humanity's earliest civilizations. They established a powerful blueprint for the winged guardian, perfectly blending brute physical strength with unwavering spiritual authority. But if this idea was born in the Fertile Crescent, how did it take flight in a land of pyramids and pharaohs, a world with its own unique vision of divine power? Far from the colossal stone gates of Mesopotamia, along the life-giving Nile, the idea of the winged guardian took on a more fluid and cosmic form. Here, divinity was woven into the very fabric of the sky and the soul. Picture the sun disk itself, cradled and propelled by the outstretched wings of the goddess Isis, a daily act of protection for the entire world. This was a protector not of city gates but of cosmic cycles. Then there is Horus, the falcon-headed god, whose piercing eyes were believed to see everything under the sun. He was not merely a strong king, but the living embodiment of kingship itself, his wings representing a sovereignty that stretched across the heavens, maintaining the balance of the universe. This balance had a name, Maat, the principle of truth, order, and harmony that held all of creation together. The winged beings of Egypt were the ultimate guardians of this delicate equilibrium. Even Thoth, the ibis-headed god of wisdom and writing, was often shown with wings, signifying his role as a divine mediator and recorder of cosmic law. But perhaps the most intimate expression of this belief was the Ba. The Ba was a part of the human soul, depicted as a bird with a human head, capable of flying from the burial site to reunite with the gods in the afterlife. It was a personal winged guardian for the soul's most perilous journey. From the grand temples to the smallest amulets placed on a body, this visual language of wings promised protection that transcended physical life, safeguarding the individual and the cosmos alike. This profound focus on cosmic order presents a fascinating evolution of the archetype. How would this concept of divine protection be reimagined in the hands of the philosophers and storytellers of the classical world, where gods walked among mortals? While the Egyptians envisioned cosmic balance, the classical world sharpened the guardian's role with a new, formidable edge. High in the remote mountains of Scythia, ancient writers like Herodotus spoke of the Griffin, a creature of immense power and unyielding vigilance. With a regal body of a lion fused to the head and mighty wings of an eagle, it was nature's ultimate hybrid, entrusted with guarding vast deposits of gold from any who would dare to steal it. This was not a protector of temples but of treasure, a being that embodied the raw, untamed power of the wilderness itself. Far to the south, at the entrance to the city of Thebes, stood another kind of sentinel altogether. The Sphinx, with a woman's head, a lion's body, and the wings of a great bird, presented a different kind of danger. She did not rely on tooth and claw alone, but on a deadly riddle, challenging the very intellect of those who sought to pass. Failure meant a swift and final end. Here, the winged guardian evolved into a gatekeeper of wisdom, protecting not just a physical space but a threshold of understanding. To pass was to prove one's worthiness. Even the harpies, storm swift and often fearsome, served as relentless enforcers of divine justice, carrying away those who defied the celestial order. This marks a profound shift in the archetype. The guardian's duty expanded from pure physical defense to the protection of knowledge, moral law, and the testing of a hero's inner mettle. It was no longer enough to be strong, one also had to be wise. This intricate dance between protection, punishment, and profound insight reveals a fascinating parallel, one that emerges with striking clarity in the ancient traditions of the East. High above the world, perched in the celestial branches of the Tree of Knowledge, rests the Simurgh. Its form is a breathtaking tapestry of creation, blending the iridescent plumage of a peacock with the wise head of a dog and the formidable claws of a lion. This is no fearsome gatekeeper of stone, but a being of immense compassion and ancient knowledge. In the grand tapestry of Persian mythology, the Simurgh is a healer, a protector, and a fount of profound wisdom. Its most famous legend tells of the infant hero Zal, abandoned for his unusual white hair, only to be discovered and raised by the gentle Simurgh in its mountaintop nest. This act redefines the very essence of guardianship, shifting it from intimidation to nurturing mentorship. The Simurgh did not merely shield Zal from physical harm, it imparted the secrets of the world, preparing him for a destiny he could never have imagined. This theme of divine favor is echoed in the elusive Huma bird, a creature of fortune so powerful that simply casting its shadow upon an individual was believed to anoint them as a rightful ruler. Both of these magnificent beings channel a foundational Persian concept known as Fa, or divine glory. This was not just royal splendor, but a luminous, celestial authority that legitimized and protected those chosen to lead. It was a form of guardianship bestowed from above, a spiritual shield for the entire kingdom. Here, the archetype softens and deepens. The guardian becomes less a warden of a physical gate and more a guide for the soul and a guarantor of destiny, its protection intertwined with healing, enlightenment, and the cosmic endorsement of a just ruler. This philosophical evolution of the winged sentinel finds a powerful and vibrant parallel in the soaring myths of the Indian subcontinent. Garuda emerges from the sacred texts not merely as a beast of burden, but as a divine sovereign in his own right. His form is a breathtaking amalgamation of human nobility and avian might, a being of such immense power that he could block out the sun with his wings. As the eternal mount of Lord Vishnu, the preserver, Garuda's role is one of cosmic significance. He is the ultimate enforcer of Dharma, the fundamental order that sustains all of creation. His legendary and eternal conflict with the serpent race, the Nagas, is far more than a simple battle of beasts. It represents the perpetual struggle between the higher, celestial principles and the chaotic, earthly forces, a timeless narrative of good protecting the universe from dissolution. Yet, for all his ferocity, Garuda is also the very embodiment of unwavering devotion. His loyalty to Vishnu is absolute, illustrating that true power is ultimately directed by service to a greater cosmic purpose. This profound duality, the fierce warrior who is also a devoted servant, elevates the guardian archetype to a new spiritual plane. In the tranquil realms of Buddhist tradition, this protective energy finds a different expression. The Kinnara, a celestial musician with the graceful head of a human and the body of a bird, offers guardianship through profound beauty and unwavering love. These beings are devoted spirits, their heavenly music not mere entertainment but a force that harmonizes the cosmos itself. They symbolize a protective, compassionate watchfulness, guarding sacred truths through their artistic devotion. The wings of these Eastern beings, therefore, are not just for flight. They signify the ability to move effortlessly between the earthly and the divine, to carry prayers upward and bring blessings down, all in the tireless service of maintaining universal balance. From the fierce devotion of Garuda to the harmonious love of the Kinnara, we see a guardian archetype fully integrated into a cosmic system of duty and care. This raises a compelling question. Could such a deeply rooted concept have traveled across the world's greatest ocean, or did it spring to life independently in the mythologies of the Americas? The feathered serpent coils through the heart of Mesoamerican belief, a deity as complex as the civilizations that revered it. Quetzalcoatl, whose very name weds the Quetzal bird's iridescent green plumes to the coiling body of a serpent, was far more than a simple guardian of a temple gate. This was a creator god, a being who gifted humanity with knowledge, art, and the foundation of agriculture itself. He was a protector not of a single location, but of the very fabric of civilization, watching over the priests and artisans who upheld it. His Mayan counterpart, Kukulkan, carried the same profound symbolism, a winged serpent intimately tied to the life-giving forces of wind and water and the promise of resurrection. Their unique form is the entire point. The serpent, grounded and of the earth, is fused with the feathers that grant it access to the heavens. This is not a creature that simply stands at a threshold. It is the threshold, a living embodiment of the sacred balance between the celestial and the terrestrial realms. Its duty was to ensure the great cycles of time and nature continued their eternal turn, protecting the world from cosmic chaos. This vision presents a guardian that is integral to creation itself, a sustainer as much as a sentinel. As this archetype journeyed across the globe, it found one of its most remote and beautiful expressions. High above the vast expanse of the Pacific Ocean, a different kind of sky being watches over the islands. Across the vast, empty expanse of the Pacific, the only constant guides were the stars above and the birds on the wing. For Polynesian navigators, the sight of a toroa, the great albatross, was more than a sign of land. It was a sacred messenger from the realm of the gods. In Maori tradition, birds like the kahu, the hawk, were not merely animals. They were often viewed as manifestations of ancestral spirits or the gods themselves. This relationship forged a different kind of guardianship, one woven into the very fabric of the natural world. The concept of kaishiaki embodies this perfectly, a role of profound responsibility where certain beings, including these sacred birds, act as guardians for the forests, the seas, and the people. This is not a guardian of stone or myth, but a living, breathing protector of the environment. Even the great god Tain, who forced the sky and earth apart to bring light and life into the world, is intimately linked to birds and the forests they inhabit. His act was the ultimate creative protection, establishing a world where balance could flourish. Here, the winged guardian sheds its hybrid form to become the bird itself, its protection rooted in ecological wisdom and ancestral continuity. It links the people not just to the divine, but to their lineage and the tangible resources that sustain life. This profound connection to the living earth presents the archetype in its most immediate form, a sentinel of the environment. From the warm winds of the Pacific, this thread of guardianship leads us to a world of ice and stark survival, where the relationship between human and sky took on a different, equally vital shape. From the sun-drenched islands of the Pacific, we journey to the mist-shrouded roots of an ancient ash tree. In the Norse cosmos, the immense world tree Yggdrasil holds all of creation in its branches, and at its very peak sits a great, unnamed eagle. This being is a watcher, its gaze sweeping across the 9 realms, a silent, overseeing presence that some traditions link to the hawk Veðurfólkr perched between its eyes. This is a guardian not of a gate or a treasure, but of the cosmic order itself, a sentinel positioned at the highest possible point. Yet the most active form of this vigilant protection takes flight each morning in a pair of dark shapes. From Odin's shoulders soar his 2 ravens, Hugin and Munin, whose names mean thought and memory. They are more than mere birds, they are extensions of the All-Father's own consciousness, his eyes and ears in the mortal world and beyond. Each day they traverse the vast expanse of the worlds, gathering every whisper of news, every hint of danger, and every fragment of wisdom, returning by dusk to murmur all they have witnessed directly into his ear. In a universe perpetually shadowed by the prophecy of Ragnarok, the final twilight of the gods, this endless quest for knowledge is the most critical form of protection imaginable. The gods' rule, and indeed the stability of all existence, depends not on walls or weapons, but on intelligence and foresight. Hugin and Munin are the ultimate winged guardians of awareness, protecting through a relentless, soaring surveillance that seeks to delay the inevitable end. This Norse interpretation adds a profound and intellectual layer to our archetype. Here, the true threat is ignorance, and the ultimate shield is wisdom. The guardian evolves from a physical barrier into a cognitive one, a being whose very flight is a defense against chaos. This incredible consistency, from the Lamassu at the gate to Odin's thought taking wing, points to a shared human impulse so deep it feels almost instinctual. In the deep, shadowed forests of ancient Slavic belief, a different kind of song drifts on the air, one that speaks not of physical protection, but of the soul's most profound journeys. Here, perched in the branches of the world tree or on the shores of a mystical paradise, are the Siren and Alkahest. These are not creatures of stone and muscle, but of ethereal beauty and haunting melody. They appear as magnificent birds with the serene faces of women, their very presence a bridge to a realm beyond human understanding. The Siren, whose origins trace back to Greek sirens, sings a song of such celestial bliss that those who hear it can be lost to a trance, forgetting their lives, their homes, and all earthly ties. It is a melody of divine forgetfulness, a dangerous invitation to abandon the mortal world for a paradise that may not be meant for the living. Her counterpart, the Alkahest, possesses a voice of equal power but opposite effect. Her song is so overwhelmingly beautiful that it has the power to make a listener forget all sorrow, all pain, and every hardship they have ever known. For a fleeting moment, her music offers the purest form of solace, a temporary refuge from suffering. Together, they represent the dual nature of transcendent experience, the intoxicating bliss that can lead to loss, and the profound comfort that can bring peace. Their guardianship is entirely spiritual. They do not guard gates or treasures, but the sacred thresholds of emotion and destiny itself. They are the intermediaries between our world of feeling and a mystical beyond, their songs acting as both a warning and a blessing. To hear one is to encounter an omen, a moment where one's spiritual path is tested by the perilous allure of divine knowledge or the healing grace of forgetfulness. This introduces a deeply ambiguous and psychological layer to the winged guardian archetype. Here, the greatest danger is not a physical monster, but the loss of one's self to an overwhelming spiritual encounter. The protection they offer is the safeguarding of cosmic mysteries, ensuring that such powerful experiences are not approached lightly. This theme of celestial messengers, beings whose very voices can alter fate and consciousness, reveals just how versatile the human imagination has been in giving wings to its deepest hopes and fears. The haunting songs of the Siren and Alkahest give voice to a profound human yearning, a desire to escape the weight of earthly existence. This deep-seated longing finds its most potent symbol in the wings themselves, an image so universally powerful it cuts across every tradition. Wings are the ultimate metaphor for freedom, for the soul's inherent drive to ascend beyond the physical and touch the divine. They represent a liberation from all that holds us down, from the pull of gravity to the confines of our own limitations. In the realm of psychology, thinkers like Carl Jung saw these recurring symbols not as coincidence, but as manifestations of the collective unconscious, archetypal images buried deep within the human psyche. The wing, in this view, becomes a symbol of our aspiration to rise above our baser instincts, to achieve a higher state of consciousness and moral clarity. It is the visible form of our spiritual ambition. Physically, flight is the conquest of boundaries, the ability to move effortlessly between realms. This makes the winged form the perfect vehicle for a guardian whose sacred duty is to patrol the liminal space between the world of humans and the domain of the gods. They are the mediators, and their wings are their passport. Even the individual feathers carry profound meaning. Consider the ancient Egyptian belief in the weighing of the heart ceremony, where the heart of the departed was placed on a scale against the feather of Mat, the goddess of truth and order. A heart lighter than the feather meant a soul purified of falsehood, worthy of eternal life. Here, the feather is not just a part of a wing, it is the very embodiment of truth, lightness, and spiritual integrity. This shared symbolic language, whether consciously crafted by priests and storytellers or emerging from the deepest wells of the human mind, provides the foundational reason for the stunning consistency of the winged guardian. The wing is far more than a mere physical appendage. It is a complete narrative device, instantly communicating a being's purpose, power, and celestial allegiance to anyone who sees it. To understand this symbolism is to finally decode the deeper message these sentinels have carried for millennia. But if the symbol is so universal, what fundamental human experiences could have planted this singular seed in our collective imagination, causing it to bloom independently across the globe? Every doorway is a potential portal, a space where one reality ends and another begins. These are the liminal zones, the thresholds that exist between the sacred and the profane, the safe village and the wild unknown, the world of the living and the realm of the spirits. In countless traditions, these in-between places are considered spiritually potent and dangerously vulnerable, points where the fabric of reality is thin and requires a constant, vigilant presence. This is precisely where the winged guardians are stationed. The Lamassu did not stand in the throne room's center, but at the city gates. The Sphinx was positioned at the entrance to Thebes, a literal and figurative crossroads. The feathered serpent Quetzalcoatl was the god of the dawn and the wind, both of which are phenomena of transition, of change, of the space between night and day, between stillness and storm. Anthropologists like Arnold van Gennep identified these moments as rites of passage, critical transitions in an individual's or a community's life, from birth to adulthood to the final journey. The winged guardian acts as the ultimate gatekeeper for these profound shifts, a mediator who controls the flow between one state of being and the next. They protect the sanctity of what lies within from the chaos of what lies without, and their approval is often the key to moving forward. Their very form is a perfect expression of this function. With a body grounded on the earth and wings that reach for the heavens, they are hybrids designed for a hybrid space. They do not belong solely to one realm or the other, but exist in the borderland itself, masters of the threshold. This is why their presence is so consistent and so necessary. By marking these critical passages, they give form to a deep-seated human need to ritualize and protect our most important transitions, ensuring that every step into the unknown is taken under a watchful, knowing eye. This universal placement at the gate raises a compelling possibility. Could these shared myths be a cultural inheritance, passed down from parent to child across countless generations as our ancestors migrated around the world? Or does the answer lie not in our history, but in the very architecture of the human mind? This deliberate fusion of animal and human traits creates a being of absolute capability. Each element is a carefully chosen piece of a puzzle, building a guardian without a single point of failure. The eagle or hawk contributes its sovereign view from the heavens, a perspective that sees all and is bound by nothing. It grants the guardian the ultimate advantage of foresight and the freedom to intervene from above. The lion or the bull provides the raw, grounded power necessary for direct confrontation, an unshakable courage and physical authority over the earthly domain. And finally, the human head, the seat of consciousness and reason, directs this immense power with wisdom and judgment. It is the difference between a mindless force of nature and a discerning protector who understands the value of what it guards. This is not a random assortment of parts, but a perfect synthesis of strength, vision, and intellect. In a world before complex machinery or standing armies, this hybrid form visualized the ideal sentinel, an entity equipped to face any conceivable threat from any realm. Its very anatomy declares dominion over the sky, the earth, and the realm of thought. Furthermore, this impossible combination instantly marks the being as something beyond the natural order. A creature that looks like this cannot be merely mortal. It is fundamentally other, a divine construct built for a singular, sacred purpose. This design principle reveals a universal human logic for conceptualizing ultimate power. When faced with the need to envision perfect protection, cultures everywhere seem to have arrived at the same solution: to combine the most admired attributes of creation into a single, ultimate form. The hybrid is, therefore, the original symbol of synthesized strength. But what happens when this powerful, universal symbol is translated into the modern world, and how do we continue to interact with this ancient archetype today? Two powerful theories stand in opposition, each attempting to solve this ancient puzzle. On one side is the idea of independent invention, which suggests that humanity's shared circumstances naturally gave rise to shared symbols. This perspective, championed by thinkers like Franz Boas, posits a kind of convergent cultural evolution. Separate cultures, facing the same fundamental human experiences, independently arrived at similar solutions. The universal awe inspired by a bird in flight, the innate fear of the dark unknown, and the deep psychological need for a symbolic protector at life's vulnerable thresholds, these are experiences common to all people everywhere. It is entirely plausible that these shared feelings would repeatedly crystallize into the form of a winged guardian, a being perfectly designed to embody our collective hopes and fears. The alternative explanation is cultural diffusion, the slow, patient journey of ideas across continents. We know for a fact that ancient trade routes like the Silk Road were not just pathways for silk and spices, but vibrant conduits for stories, art, and beliefs. A merchant or traveler might carry the tale of a Lamassu from Mesopotamia eastward, where over generations the story could be retold, reshaped, and eventually re-emerged in a new land as the Simurgh or Garuda, adapted to fit a different spiritual landscape. This theory suggests our world was far more interconnected in antiquity than we often assume, with mythological motifs traveling vast distances over millennia. The truth likely resides in a fascinating blend of both processes. Perhaps the core archetype of a hybrid protector is a fundamental product of the human mind, an independent invention. But the specific artistic styles, the particular combinations of animals, and the nuances of their stories could have been influenced, enriched, and accelerated through cultural contact. Unraveling this mystery requires looking at the evidence left behind, the distribution of specific artifacts, and the startling parallels in myths separated by oceans. By tracing these threads, we move closer to understanding whether we are looking at a single, ancient story that circled the globe, or a chorus of different voices all singing the same deeply human song. Carl Jung's theory of the collective unconscious offers a startling answer to this ancient riddle. He proposed that beneath our individual minds lies a shared psychic substrate, a deep reservoir of inherited memories and universal patterns he called archetypes. These are not literal memories of events, but fundamental blueprints for characters, symbols, and stories that appear in every human culture. The winged guardian is a perfect embodiment of one such archetype, perhaps the self or the protective spirit, a primordial image that surfaces in our dreams, our art, and our most sacred stories, entirely independent of historical contact. This is not a learned idea, but an innate one rising from the very foundations of the human psyche. Jung would argue that we are not copying these myths from one another, we are all tapping into the same deep well. The guardian, in this view, is a projection of our profound, internal need for security and guidance in a universe that can often feel vast and unpredictable. It is the mind's way of giving form to our longing for a powerful, benevolent force that can stand between us and the chaos of existence. This psychological lens does not diminish the myths, but rather deepens their significance, connecting the external stories we tell to the internal landscape of our own minds. The consistency of the winged guardian is no longer just a historical curiosity. but a reflection of a shared human inheritance, written in the language of symbol and dream. This internal explanation presents a compelling counterpoint to theories of cultural exchange, suggesting the true source of this mystery might lie within us all along. But how can we test such an intangible idea against the hard evidence of archaeology and the written record? The night sky was humanity's first storybook, its constellations etched in fire against an infinite dark. Before cities or written words, our ancestors shared this same celestial dome, and its patterns offered a universal language. The brilliant stars of Aquila, the eagle, were recognized across the Mediterranean, Asia, and the Americas, a soaring shape that countless cultures interpreted as a great bird of prey. These consistent, luminous formations, alongside the breathtaking sight of an eagle or hawk circling at the edge of vision, could easily have suggested the form of a celestial watcher. It is a short step from seeing a pattern of stars as a bird to imagining it as a divine, winged being with a sacred duty. The planets, those wandering points of light that moved against the fixed tapestry of stars, were often seen as gods themselves. How did they travel? What invisible force guided their paths? It is a compelling thought that ancient sky watchers envisioned them carried on the backs of immense cosmic wings, their motion explained by the flight of celestial messengers. This cosmographic interpretation provides a beautifully tangible origin for the archetype. Humanity, gazing upward from every corner of the earth, was essentially reading from the same script written in starlight. The awe-inspiring spectacle of the Milky Way could be seen as a vast, feathered path, a river of light traversed by these spiritual sentinels. This shared celestial canvas offered a common well of inspiration, a reason why the same core image of a winged intermediary could emerge independently. The sky itself, in its majestic and predictable cycles, became the original temple, and the constellations its first guardians. This profound connection to the heavens suggests a deep, primal link between our myths and our earliest science, a unified human attempt to map not just the stars, but the very nature of the divine. These stone giants were masterpieces of political theater, their sheer scale a deliberate message carved in limestone. The Lamassu did more than guard a palace. They projected an image of absolute, unshakable authority to any visitor or conquered people who approached the gates. Every aspect of their design was calculated to overwhelm the senses and crush the spirit of rebellion. Their hybrid nature was not merely spiritual, it was a direct claim that the king himself embodied the combined powers of man, beast, and eagle, a ruler whose mandate came from the gods and whose will was as immutable as stone. This was not subtle art, it was a form of psychological warfare, a visual declaration that the state was eternal, divinely protected, and terrifyingly powerful. The message was simple and brutal: obedience was the only path. This strategic use of the guardian archetype to legitimize power was a global phenomenon. In Egypt, the long avenues of sphinxes leading to temple complexes were not just a spiritual pathway, they were a processional route for the pharaoh, reinforcing his role as the living intermediary between the people and the pantheon with every ceremonial step. His power was framed as a divine necessity, and the guardians lining the way were his eternal honor guard. Across the ocean and centuries later, the same principle was at work in the sprawling temple complexes of Southeast Asia. Here, the god-king was often visually identified with Vishnu, and his divine mount Garuda was everywhere. Sculpted into towering temple walls and gateways, the image of the majestic, powerful Garuda served as a constant, soaring symbol of the ruler's own authority, a reminder that his reign was upheld by cosmic forces. The stunning consistency in the form of these winged guardians is therefore partly explained by a consistent political need. Ruling elites, whether in Mesopotamia, Egypt, or Cambodia, all faced the same fundamental challenge: how to maintain control, ensure stability, and justify their position at the top of a social hierarchy. The answer, it seems, was to wrap their power in the wings of the divine. By commissioning these magnificent sentinels, they created a visual language of power that was instantly understood by everyone, from the most educated priest to the most common laborer. The guardian was a political tool, its artistic representation a carefully curated message designed to inspire not just awe, but also submission. This pragmatic function reveals a crucial, earthbound dimension to their mythic wings, showing how the deepest human fears and aspirations could be harnessed to build and maintain an empire. Their protection was never a passive shield, but an active force for a sacred kind of order. These winged guardians were the living embodiment of the moral laws that held their universes together. In Egypt, the principle was Maat, the cosmic truth of balance, justice, and harmony. The gods themselves were not above this law. They were its ultimate guardians, and their winged forms, from the falcon of Horus to the outstretched pinions of Isis, were the instruments of its preservation. To act against Maat was to invite chaos, and these divine sentinels ensured that such imbalance would not stand. This was not a personal vendetta, but a cosmic necessity. We see this same profound duty in the Hindu concept of Dharma, the sacred order of righteousness that governs both nature and human conduct. Garuda, as the devoted vehicle of Vishnu, the preserver, is intrinsically aligned with this principle. His eternal battle against the serpentine Nagas is the mythic expression of this conflict, a perpetual struggle to defend the cosmic order from the forces of disorder and adharma. He is not just a powerful creature, he is a warrior for universal truth. Even in the Greek world, the foundational idea of Themis, representing divine law and the natural order of things, was often upheld by these hybrid beings. The Sphinx at Thebes did not merely block a road, she enforced a brutal divine test. Those who failed to answer her riddle, who proved themselves unworthy of the knowledge required to pass, were not simply turned away. They were met with swift and final judgment. This transforms these figures from simple gatekeepers into active agents of cosmic justice. They represent the idea that the universe itself has a moral structure, and that transgressing against it carries inevitable consequences. The guardian becomes the enforcer of a divine ethical code. This consistent role points to something fundamental within us, a deep-seated human yearning for a world where goodness is not just an ideal, but a principle actively defended by overwhelming power. It makes the archetype deeply personal, a reminder that our own choices exist within a larger framework of cause and effect, watched over by forces far greater than ourselves. Unraveling this global puzzle requires a special kind of detective work, the field of comparative mythology. This is not about simply listing similar creatures, but about building a credible case through meticulous, cross-cultural investigation. Scholars in this discipline act as intellectual archaeologists, sifting through layers of story and symbol to identify true parallels. Their first tool is linguistic analysis, digging into the very roots of words and names to trace a myth's lineage and potential journeys across continents. They also map the migration of motifs, following the flow of artistic and narrative themes along ancient trade routes to see how a story might have been adapted from one culture to the next. Yet the most critical skill is knowing how to distinguish a superficial resemblance from a deep structural parallel. Two myths might both feature a giant bird, but if one is a chaotic trickster and the other a divine king, their similarity is only skin deep. True parallels run to the core, sharing the same fundamental role in the cosmic order, the same psychological function, and the same narrative position. This rigorous methodology is what elevates the study from mere speculation to a compelling exploration of our shared humanity. The greatest pitfall in this delicate work is ethnocentric bias, the unconscious act of viewing another culture's sacred stories solely through the lens of one's own traditions. Labeling the powerful, sacred thunderbird of many Native American nations as simply a type of griffin, for instance, risks stripping it of its unique spiritual meaning and reducing a complex cultural icon to a familiar yet inaccurate category. True comparativists must perform a constant balancing act, honoring the distinct cultural context of each myth while still having the courage to identify the profound, universal themes that connect them all. It is this careful, respectful approach that allows us to see the winged guardian not as a single copied idea, but as a shared human answer to a set of deep, fundamental questions about protection, power, and our place in the cosmos. This ancient blueprint for the protector did not fade with the chiseling of the last Lamassu. It simply found new temples in the vibrant pages of comic books and the sweeping spectacle of cinema. The lineage is direct and undeniable. Soaring through the skies of Marvel's X-Men is Archangel, a mutant whose magnificent metallic wings are both a gift and a weapon, transforming him into an angel of both salvation and retribution. He is a modern guardian, his personal struggle mirroring the archetype's ancient duality of fierce power and profound purpose. Then there are the great eagles of Middle-earth, creatures of immense wisdom and strength who answer only to the highest authority. They do not involve themselves in the petty wars of men, but descend at pivotal moments to rescue the innocent and turn the tide against overwhelming darkness, their interventions perfectly echoing the selective, celestial aid of their mythological ancestors. Even the Valkyries, once the choosers of the slain from Norse sagas, have been reimagined for a new generation. In the Marvel Cinematic Universe, they are elite warriors, their winged steeds carrying them into battle as protectors of realms and enforcers of a lost honor, their core function as guides for the worthy remaining perfectly intact. These contemporary figures are not mere copies, they are evolution. They retain the essential DNA of the archetype, the majestic wings, the heroic or protective role, and that crucial connection to a higher moral cause or cosmic order. Their enduring and massive popularity is a powerful testament to the fact that this ancient symbol still resonates at the deepest level of our collective imagination. We are still drawn to the same story, simply told with new special effects. The Guardian has successfully migrated from the stone gate to the silver screen, proving that our need for these celestial sentinels is as timeless as the myths that first gave them wings. A gleaming artifact of gold and turquoise, unearthed from a Scythian burial mound, depicts a creature of breathtaking ferocity and beauty. This is the griffin in its element, a symbol so potent it captivated empires separated by thousands of miles and centuries. Its form is the ultimate synthesis of terrestrial and aerial dominion, the muscular body of the lion fused seamlessly with the head, sharp beak, and vast wings of the eagle. This is not a random mythological beast, but a deliberate construct, the king of the land united with the king of the sky. From the vibrant frescoes of the Minoan Palace of Knossos to intricate Egyptian amulets, and further still to the glittering goldwork of nomadic Scythian tribes, the griffin appears with a startling consistency. Its role is just as stable, a vigilant guardian of precious things. Ancient writers like Herodotus place them at the edge of the known world, protecting vast hoards of gold from one-eyed Arimaspians, a myth that likely grew from real tales told along the Silk Road about the fierce protectors of Central Asian gold deposits. But the griffin's duty extended beyond mere wealth. It was also a protector of the sacred itself, often depicted in Minoan art flanking altars and divine figures, its presence a barrier against any form of spiritual profanity. How does one creature manage to hold such a similar meaning for palace builders, desert pharaohs, and steppe nomads alike? The griffin's own history provides a compelling clue. Its image traveled the same routes as the gold it was said to guard, moving along the intricate web of trade that connected Central Asia to the Mediterranean. A merchant might carry a seal bearing its image from Mesopotamia to Greece, where local artists would reinterpret the powerful symbol, adapting it to their own artistic style but preserving its core essence. This is the diffusionist argument made tangible, a powerful motif hitchhiking on the caravans of commerce. Yet there is another, more profound layer to its persistence. The core concept of the griffin is almost mathematical in its symbolic perfection. What is the ultimate form of a guardian? It is the creature with the greatest strength of the earth and the greatest vision of the heavens. The combination of lion and eagle is not just impressive, it is logically complete, an answer to a question that many cultures were asking independently. This is the heart of the entire mystery, perfectly crystallized in this one hybrid being. The griffin stands as a perfect microcosm of our investigation, its widespread presence suggesting the real possibility of cultural exchange, while its fundamental, resonant design equally supports the idea of a shared psychic blueprint. It forces us to hold two possibilities in our minds at once, that ideas can travel the world, and that they can also spring from the same soil in different gardens. This drive to categorize and connect, however, has a complicated and often overlooked history. The very lens through which many of these traditions were first studied by the Western world was profoundly distorted. During the eras of exploration and colonialism, European scholars and travelers encountered a stunning array of indigenous beliefs about winged beings. Yet, instead of seeking to understand these myths on their own terms, there was a powerful tendency to force them into familiar boxes. A complex, sacred entity from a Pacific island or the Americas might be hastily labeled a sphinx or a cherubim, its unique story stripped away to make it fit a Greco-Roman or biblical template. This act of intellectual homogenization was a form of cultural erasure, simplifying a rich tapestry of global belief into a monotonous repetition of European ideals. The profound spiritual significance of a local sky being was often lost, replaced by a sterile, comparative footnote in a foreign text. This legacy of misinterpretation casts a long shadow, one that modern researchers must consciously work to dispel. The quest for universal patterns, while fascinating, becomes ethically and intellectually bankrupt if it ignores the distinct voice of each culture. Acknowledging this historical bias is not about assigning blame, but about committing to a more honest and respectful form of inquiry. It reminds us that true understanding lies not in forcing connections, but in appreciating the beautiful, intricate variations each tradition brings to the shared human story. The winged guardian is a universal archetype, but its countless expressions are uniquely and powerfully local. This careful, nuanced approach is what allows us to finally hear the individual songs within the chorus, revealing how a single, powerful idea was woven into the very identity of a people and their relationship to the land they called home. A necessary counterpoint emerges from the halls of academia, where a healthy skepticism tempers the allure of a universal mystery. Some researchers argue that the very idea of an unexplained consistency is built on a foundation of selective comparison. They caution that the term winged guardian is an incredibly broad net, one that can catch profoundly different types of beings simply because they share one common feature. Is it truly valid to group the compassionate, nurturing Simurgh with the terrifying, punishing harpies under the same label? Their fundamental natures, their core purposes within their respective myths, could not be more different. A critic would point out that by focusing so intently on the wings, we risk creating a false parallel, smoothing over the rich, jagged details that make each culture's mythology unique and distinct. From a purely biological standpoint, the prevalence of birds as a source of inspiration seems almost inevitable. Birds are a global phenomenon, present on every continent. Their ability to defy gravity, to soar where we cannot, and their keen, all-seeing vision make them a natural and universal symbol for power, freedom, and perspective. It is not so much a mystery as it is a logical, almost predictable human response to one of nature's most impressive creations. This skeptical stance is not meant to dismantle the mystery but to refine it. It is a crucial part of the academic process, a system of checks and balances that ensures we do not rush to a neat conclusion at the expense of cultural depth. To truly honor these traditions, we must be willing to sit with the differences as much as the similarities, acknowledging that the true beauty may lie in the intricate variations, not just the shared chorus. This balanced view demands that we listen to these critiques, for they remind us that every myth is first and foremost a local story, born from a specific people and their unique relationship with the world around them. So where does this leave our grand puzzle, with its scattered pieces of myth and stone scattered across millennia? The most profound realization is that no single key unlocks this mystery. The truth is not found in choosing between psychology and history, or between independent invention and cultural diffusion, but in understanding how all these forces wove together to create the same magnificent tapestry. Our shared human mind, gazing up at the same birds and stars, naturally conceived of a being that could transcend the earth. Our shared human anxieties about life's fragile thresholds demanded a protector for those sacred, vulnerable spaces. Rulers and priests, recognizing the power of this symbol, then harnessed it to project authority and cement social order. And all the while, along ancient trade routes, the stories themselves traveled, cross-pollinating and enriching local traditions, accelerating a process that might have occurred more slowly in isolation. This is not a case of either or, but of yes and. The consistency of the winged guardian is not a riddle with one correct answer. It is a symphony of human experience composed of the deep notes of our psychology, the clear melody of our observation, the practical rhythms of our societies, and the subtle harmonies of our ancient connections. To ask why this archetype is universal is to ask what it means to be human, to face the unknown with a mind that seeks patterns, a spirit that yearns for protection, and a heart that dares to imagine a bridge to the divine. The answer was never a single thread, but the entire, beautiful, interwoven fabric itself. Our journey across the continents and through the centuries brings us back to a single, humbling realization. The true mystery is not the existence of these winged guardians, but the stunning consistency of the human imagination itself. We are left not with one simple answer, but with a profound appreciation for the shared dreams of our species. This incredible tapestry of myth, woven from threads of fear and hope, reveals our universal desire to visualize power, to seek protection for our most sacred spaces, and to build bridges to the heavens. It is a testament to something fundamental within us all. Whether these sentinels were born from the deep waters of our collective unconscious, mapped from the patterns of ancient stars, or carried on the slow currents of forgotten trade routes, their presence speaks of a hidden unity. They are a chorus of different voices from every corner of the world, all singing a variation of the same deeply human song. These figures challenge us to peer beyond the exotic surface of distant cultures and recognize the common spirit that animates them. The next time you encounter a myth, whether in a museum, a book, or a film, look for these hidden connections. See if you can spot the archetypes that bind our stories together across time. The world is full of such echoes, waiting for a curious mind to listen. If this flight through the skies of legend has sparked your wonder, we would love to hear from you. Which of these majestic winged guardians resonates most with you? Share your favorite in the comments below and subscribe to join us as we continue to explore history's greatest enigmas.